Welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And you remember at the end of the last episode when we said we would be reviewing Flashpoint? That's next episode, as it turns out.
Right, we had to do some schedule rearranging because the Teen Titans Go to the Movies animated film and the Wonder Woman Bloodlines animated film come out back-to-back next month. So that pushed more Duel episodes to this month, and we didn't want to do 3 Duel episodes in a row. So we're doing this episode now, and then we'll review Flashpoint in our next episode.
This episode, of course, is The Flash, Wally West, versus Speedball. It's actually one I've been looking forward to for a while since we came up with the idea.
Oh yeah, I love Speedball.
And I grew up reading Wally West, so he's near and dear to my heart. Can't wait to talk about him.
Yeah, I wanted to choose someone to go up against Wally that wasn't just a repeat of our Barry Allen versus Quicksilver matchup.
Yeah.
So Speedball, he can go fast, but his primary power is to bounce, essentially. And I think it'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, before we get into the duel, though, we're going to break down the news items from the past week, which includes the Joker winning the Golden Lion Award at the Venice Film Festival. Huge. The Birds of Prey teaser was attached to It Chapter 2, and Hailey Steinfield has been offered the Kate Bishop role in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series.
As always, you can skip ahead through the episode if this is old news to you, and go ahead and check out our show notes for the chapter times.
We want to give a quick shout out to the person who gave us our 145th rating on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we don't know who the person was because they didn't leave a review, but they did get us 1 rating closer to our goal of 200 ratings on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. As you guys know, we're trying to get to 200 because at that point, Rotten Tomatoes says we are eligible to have our reviews count toward the Marvel and DC movies that we review. It's a huge goal of ours to be like Rotten Tomatoes film critics, so if you guys could help us out with that, that would be amazing. A little discouraged that we only got 1 rating this past week, but...
It's fine. I mean, we'll bounce back.
I think it's time to reach out to specific people to rate us who haven't yet. So, James,
what?
It's your turn. It's your turn to rate us if you haven't done it yet.
I think that's a common name.
James and Mary, you gotta go on iTunes and rate us. It's your turn.
We're just going to start giving out random names each episode.
Until we get to 200.
I mean, it only takes 2 seconds. We're not asking for a review, just a rating.
Right.
And we've already talked about this for too long. Moving on. Quick, to the No Prize.
A No Prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that Jonathan personally draws for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
Last week's question was, who is your favorite live-action Joker actor and why?
I feel like we got a lot of flack for this question. Maybe it wasn't a great question.
We got more flack for this question than maybe any other question we've ever asked.
Right, because some people were like, well, I want to include the animated actors, or I can't answer this question because I haven't seen the new movie. Really, what we were trying to get from this question was, what do people like in their live-action Jokers so far leading up to the new Joker film?
Yeah, there's really only a handful of choices to choose from, but really we were looking for the why. Why was this your favorite live-action depiction? Our first honorable mention goes to Hacks, who gave the answer of Heath Ledger for his incredible performance, though his favorite is actually Kevin Michael Richardson, who did the voice work for the Batman cartoon.
Brooks Lambert also gave the answer of Heath Ledger, who called him iconic, sinister, and comedic.
Harrison Fox gave the answer of Cesar Romero from the 60s Batman television show, saying that he paved the way for on-screen Jokers.
That's
true. And it's true.
He was very comics accurate, I think, for the time. Although he did paint his mustache white. He didn't want to shave his mustache, so he just put white paint over it. That's kind of funny.
Right.
Jeremy Hoyt gave the answer of Heath Ledger, said that he basically gave his life for the role, which I don't know about. I guess it was a lot of pressure to be in that role. We do know that he basically mixed sleeping medication and alcohol.
And it's just something you don't do.
Right.
He went to a dark place after the role, for sure.
Yeah.
Adam Spies also gave the answer of Heath Ledger, saying it was a disturbed, humorous, and utterly captivating performance that we craved more of. And it's true. I was so heartbroken when Heath Ledger died, especially when I got to see the film, because I would have loved to see more of his Joker.
Adam's brother John Spies from the Blast from Our Past podcast gave the answer of Cesar Romero, citing the nostalgia that he has for Romero's performance in the Batman 60s show And he thinks that Cesar Romero had the best Joker laugh, which is an interesting point. The Joker laugh is so iconic, you really have to nail that if you're going to play the role. It's kind of like the James Bond line for those actors.
Absolutely. You'll notice, spoiler alert, that no one gave the answer of Jared Leto, and he definitely had the worst Joker laugh.
Yeah, he did.
So. Kieran Pomare gave the answer of Heath Ledger, saying he was menacing, calculated, and chaotic.
And riding the Heath Ledger train is also Mitch Phipps, who said that Ledger had a lot of charisma and his performance really paid attention to detail.
Jacob Bell gave the answer of Heath Ledger as well, saying that his performance was on another level, though he respected Jared Leto for not even trying to touch Ledger's performance. And I guess if Leto deserves any kind of respect, it's because of that.
Just a very little bit of respect. Jeff Miles Jr. gave the answer of Cameron Monaghan from the Gotham TV show on Fox, saying that it's the first time we got to see a young Joker, and Monaghan's performance perfectly explained why the Joker character is so disturbed.
And he played like several different versions of the Joker.
Oh, really?
So credit to him for that.
Yeah.
Jace Crump gave the answer of Heath Ledger, saying that he was blown away by his performance.
Matthew Gonzalez also gave the answer of Heath Ledger, saying if anyone gives the answer of Jared Leto, we have to ban them from listening to the podcast. Luckily, no one did, so we don't have to ban anybody.
Right. And finally, Rick Mena gave the answer of Cesar Romero, and his reasoning was just an animated gif of Romero laughing, which, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to Ken Johnson, the only person to give the answer of Jack Nicholson. Now, I'm biased here because of nostalgia, essentially. I still remember having the VHS tape of Batman and just watching Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson just ham it up. It was so great. It still brings a warm feeling to my heart whenever I watch that film.
His performance owed a lot to Cesar Romero's, though.
I think he was absolutely inspired by Cesar Romero, but I also think he improved upon it and expanded upon it.
Did he?
It was just so menacing. Like, I always go back to the boardroom scene, you know, when he's like talking to all the mobsters and he just kills that guy, like fries him like right in front of him. He's just so unpredictable.
He's zany like Romero,
scary.
but he's a lot more evil.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, you're right, he was our first Joker growing up as kids, so...
He's the most comic accurate, in my opinion.
Really? Oh yeah, potentially, out of the choices.
To me, the Joker character is flamboyant and funny and colorful, and that's exactly what Jack Nicholson was. So kudos to Ken Johnson.
Yeah, you win this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, would like to win a No Prize, go ahead and stay tuned to later on this episode when we will ask another question of the week. Now that that's done,
on to the news. So on Saturday, at the close of the 76th Venice International Film Festival, the Joker movie was awarded the highest honor of the festival, the Golden Lion.
Right, usually that type of award is saved for Best Picture contenders such as Roma and The Shape of Water and other just amazing films. So it's kind of a big deal to win this Golden Lion Award.
It is a big deal. I mean, not too many American Hollywood films are given this honor. Very few. We do have The Shape of Water, we do have Roma, but before that, like, there weren't any Hollywood films until, like, The Wrestler, like, 10 years ago.
It was given to mainly foreign films, is what you're saying?
Right, exactly. It's given to, like, the most artistic film in the world of that year, essentially. The Venice Film Festival is all about artistry. It's like one of the two most prestigious film festivals in the world next to the Cannes Film Festival. Mm-hmm. So for a comic book film to win this award is a huge deal. It basically guarantees that the Joker is going to get nominated for Best Picture and probably get a Best Actor nomination at the Oscars.
But not Best Director?
Probably that too.
What about Best Screenplay?
And that. Name another one.
Best.
Yes.
You are way overhyped for this.
Oh my god, I know I am. How could I not be? Won a Golden Lion. What is so crazy about this win, too, is that Warner Brothers didn't even want to enter the film into competition initially. Like, during his acceptance speech, Todd Phillips said, "Thank you so much to Warner Brothers for stepping out of your comfort zone and taking such a bold swing and risk on him in this movie." So Warner Brothers is just like ecstatic about this.
Yeah, it's great publicity leading up to the film. The movie's also being premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is actually happening tonight.
Yeah, so we'll get even more reactions to that. Apparently, according to the Hollywood Reporter, or was it Deadline, one of the trades was saying that basically everyone at the film festival was just waiting for the Joker. This film is gonna, be a masterpiece.
Allegedly. You need to calm down.
Nope.
Is all I'm saying.
Dude, how?
Just
how?
Calm your tits.
No other
Slow
comic
down.
book film has ever had this much hype leading up to it.
Endgame?
No.
What are you talking about?
Critical hype? Critical hype?
Critical hype?
Award hype?
Sure, I guess. You're take a step back.
Dude.
All the listeners say it along with me. Check your expectations, Jonathan. Check your fucking expectations.
My expectations are that this film was so good, it won a Golden Lion. That's what my expectations are.
It doesn't make sense, but okay.
It's just going to be a really good film.
Joker's gonna suck. All right? Just because you love it so much, it's gonna fucking suck. Just wait. Can't wait till it sucks.
Well, you're going to have to wait a long ass time because it's not going to happen.
All right, moving on to the next news.
Okay, so if you had the chance to see It Chapter 2 this past weekend, spoiler alert, it's not as good as the first one.
But it's still not bad.
It's not bad. But if you saw the movie in theaters, you saw the teaser to Birds of Prey, which comes out next year.
It was also leaked online.
Yeah,
You can see it if you go online. It's only about 30 seconds.
It's not very long at all, because it wasn't really a trailer. It was kind of a gag, which was kind of surprising. I really wish I wouldn't have seen this online before I saw it in the theater, because I would have been really surprised when it happened. Basically, you think the movie It is starting, and you see these red balloons and the music from the film starts playing.
Right, and they're floating over the studio logos.
Then all of a sudden you see the DC logo, and you're like, what? I know I would have been like, what? If I would have saw that in theaters. And then Harley Quinn pops up, you think it's Pennywise, but she smashes some balloons, pops them with her mallet, and then she's like, I'm so fucking over clowns, and then winks at the camera.
And she's talking about the upcoming DC movie, The Joker, right? She's talking about Joaquin Phoenix with that line, right?
I don't know what she's talking about, honestly.
She's talking about the Joker.
I have no clue what they were trying to do with this marketing push. Or at the very least, that line.
Well, they're trying to tie it into the fact that, Pennywise is a clown and the Joker, her ex-beau, is a clown,
But it doesn't seem like the wisest marketing campaign when you're about to put out a clown film next month.
That's true. That's true.
Harley Quinn is such an influential character. You don't want her influencing people to think that clowns are bad or dumb or not worth your time.
That being said, I don't think anybody will get that from this.
No, that's true. That's true. I'm just reading way too much into it. But
you're defensive of the upcoming Joker movie.
Exactly. Right after, we learn of the gag, we see a whole bunch of quick snippets of footage. And I gotta say, I didn't really find any of it impressive, at all. It's just too fast.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see a good shot of Huntress in costume. Mary Elizabeth Winstead looks pretty cool as the character, wielding her crossbow and everything.
We also see Black Canary deliver a side kick to some goon henchman. And I gotta say, as a world-class martial artist, she doesn't have the best form.
Right, there's little to no impact with that kick. But I think I'm most disappointed by Black Mask, considering that Ewan McGregor is not wearing a black mask.
Honestly, by this point, I'm starting to worry that we're not going to see him in the black mask in this film.
At all?
You think they would have marketed it by now?
Maybe they're saving it as a surprise or something.
I want it now.
This might be like the Black Mask's origin story where we see him get the mask. But that's a little bit disappointing, I guess.
It is, because I don't need an origin story for Roman Sionis. I just want to see him in his badass mask, honestly. We do get to see Renee Montoya clad all in black along with Huntress and Black Canary. It's very street fashion. It's not very superhero costumey, but that makes sense for these characters, I think.
The movie is pretty stylish, if you have to say one good thing about it. It looks stylish.
The cinematography doesn't look terrible. The lighting looks interesting.
It reminds me a lot of Punisher Warzone.
Yeah, I could totally see that. We see Harley Quinn throwing her mallet at this henchman who's wearing this, looks like a rabbit mask, which is interesting. And they're in some kind of carnival fun zone. I'm not sure where they are.
Might be an allusion to Mad Hatter.
I don't see why it would be. He's not going to be in this film that we're aware of. I just want something concrete. I want to know if this film is going to be good or bad. And so far, like, it doesn't raise my expectations in any way. The coolest thing I think about this trailer was the logo.
And the music was pretty cool.
The music was cool. It did fit the tone of the trailer. It definitely feels like, based on the title card, that they're taking a page from, like, the Suicide Squad branding book.
Is she eating a sausage McMuffin with egg at the end of this trailer? Or is it an egg McMuffin with sausage? I can't remember what it's called. Is that what she's eating at the end of this teaser?
Yeah, I think so. Some kind of burger. She's winking, so it makes me think she's going to break the fourth wall a lot in this film.
Like Deadpool?
Yeah. This whole thing feels like they're trying to do Deadpool, but, like, maybe the feminine version of it? Something that would appeal more to a female audience?
Yeah, I mean, this sounds kind of cool. It's a good concept. I noticed that the two hyenas that Harley Quinn has in the comics are in the back of the car with her.
At this point, I'm just wondering when we're going to get the actual trailer for this film. Because we've gotten, like, a Comic-Con sneak peek that was very rapid-fire, fast-paced. We've got this teaser in front of it that's very rapid-fire, fast-paced, that hasn't even been officially released online.
Well, they're currently doing reshoots for the film right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll want to include a lot of those action shots in the trailer. I do suspect that nothing of note, marketing-wise, will happen with this film until after the Joker, because I don't think Warner Brothers wants to confuse audiences about whether or not Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is tied in any way to Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn.
I don't think that. I think we'll get a trailer with the Joker movie.
We'll see.
In other news, Hailey Steinfield has been offered the role of Kate Bishop in the upcoming Hawkeye Disney Plus series. Now, Kate Bishop is from the New Avengers. She's an expert marksman, just like Clint Barton. And I think in this television show, she's going to be trained by Clint to kind of take over his role.
And it doesn't surprise me, because we know that Hailey Steinfield can lead a film. She did so with Bumblebee.
Right, she was in Pitch Perfect 2 and, The Edge of 17, I think it was called.
That was a great film. And by the time she films this, she's going to have experience leading her own TV show in Dickinson.
Oh, I haven't even heard about that. I am excited about this news, honestly. I don't really know much about Hailey Steinfield. I've seen very little that she's been in.
She has a huge following, I know that.
Yeah, she does have a huge following, and I did really like her as the voice of Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I thought she did really well there. Just judging by her look, I could totally see how she could pull off this character. Kate Bishop is hilarious. She was great in Matt Fraction's run. She was kind of like Clint's protege, who also had like a crush on him, but in some ways she was a lot more like emotionally mature than Clint. Like, he was trying to train her how to be like an Avenger and everything like that, but he was always like fucking up and getting into trouble, and you know, she was saving his ass, and so it kind of led for a great dynamic between the two characters, and that's kind of something I'd love to see played out here in the show.
And I'm sure it will. Like, even down to the animated title card that they did for this, that they debuted at Comic-Con, it looks like they're going to borrow heavily from the Matt Fraction run.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Hailey beat out a lot of Disney Channel stars that were vying for the role.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There was one actress who put out like a Twitter campaign out there. Her name was Artemis, and she showed a video of herself shooting a bottle cap off of a bottle. I mean, and Artemis is an apt name for an archer, and I guess she's into archery and everything like that. But the video clip that she released online was so heavily edited that it was a fucking joke.
I saw that. She like knocked back her arrow and then released it, and then there was a cut to the bottle cap of the cap flying off.
Right.
And then she got super excited, and it's like, girl, you faked that. And it's like, if she was really that good, she would have been like, yep, that just happened.
Yeah,
I could do it again.
Yeah, it would have been like an everyday thing. And besides her, there were quite a few other actresses that were vying for this role. In the end, I think Hailey is the most qualified, given that she is of movie lead caliber, and I think that she'll do well alongside Jeremy Renner. It seems like those two would have good chemistry based on the stuff that I have seen.
Yeah, it seems like perfect casting. I know for a while there were a lot of fans who wanted her to be Batgirl. I'm kind of disappointed that she didn't end up with DC, but yeah, I think she'll make a great Kate Bishop.
Yeah, we'll have to pit Kate Bishop against Barbara Gordon in an upcoming Duel episode sometime.
Oh, let's do that.
I'm excited for Hailey. I think that Marvel will likely maybe even spin this off into like multiple seasons of her own show, or maybe even put her in the MCU in a Young Avengers film down the line or something. So lots to look forward to. But speaking of Disney Plus Marvel show casting, that brings us to our question of the week. So let's go back to the new Disney Plus shows that were announced a few weeks ago. Who would you cast as Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, and or She-Hulk in the upcoming Disney Plus series? You can give us answers for all three of those characters or just one.
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media.
Well, that does it for all the news. Let's go ahead and get into the main event of this episode, where we pit Wally West the Flash against Speedball and run simulations to find out who would win.
Okay, Flash versus Speedball. We're doing this match now as a tie-in to our review of the Flashpoint Paradox in our next episode. Also, Wally West was a member of the Teen Titans, and this episode is part of our lead-up to our 150th episode, which is going to be a team battle between the Teen Titans and the X-Men.
Right, we're going to have a lot of Titans and X-Men focused episodes in the upcoming weeks leading up to episode 150. Now, Speedball is not a member of the X-Men. He's primarily a member of the New Warriors, but I thought he would be a great matchup for Wally West. And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises to be had within this particular duel.
We'll see. If you haven't listened to one of our Duel episodes before, the way we approach our battles is statistics.
Right. We don't go off of fan votes. We don't go off of feats. We basically take each character's base statistics, which are determined by the criteria set forth by the Marvel Power Rankings grid, and we randomize those numbers in a Monte Carlo simulation. And what that does is it accounts for all the variables that take place in battle by placing each stat number along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve. And we run these simulations 1,000 times, and from there, we get a percentage of wins for each character.
Now, no one character ever wins 100% of the time. There's always one way for a character to defeat another, as in the case of Batman and Superman.
Right. So while we declare the person with the higher percentage of wins to be the overall victor of our Duel episodes, it's not to say that that person would always win. It's just to say that the odds favor them winning.
And of course, this is the same approach that the TV show Deadliest Warrior used back when it was on Spike TV. Before we run the simulations, though, we like to give a breakdown of each character, delving into their past and their abilities, just to learn more about the characters, because I don't know much about Speedball.
And I don't know too much about Wally West's history, honestly. Once we go into their backstories and powers, we like to improvise a scenario detailing how Jonathan and I see the fight actually going, one of those 1,000 simulations that we run. And then we actually run the numbers.
I think it's your turn to go first with your character's backstory.
Yeah, let me tell you guys all about Robbie Baldwin, Speedball, who we haven't really seen on television or movies yet, although he is one of the regulars on the New Warriors television show that stars Melissa Vaintrub as Squirrel Girl, that they filmed a pilot for like years ago, and then it still hasn't found a network, I guess. It's moving from Freeform, and they were shopping it around to other networks, but I don't know what's going to happen with that show.
It was supposed to be really good.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in seeing it, mainly because I really love the character of Speedball. Now, Robert Baldwin was born in Springdale, Connecticut, to the actress Madeline Naylor and District Attorney Justin Baldwin. He grew up in an unstable household, with his parents being very different, often clashing and arguing over Robbie's future and whether he should get into law school or into the arts. In late high school, Robbie instead developed an interest in the sciences and interned at the Hammond Research Laboratory. There, Dr. Nicholas Benson and his colleagues were developing a conduit into extra-dimensional energy. Robbie snuck into the lab to observe the experiment and was bombarded with the energy after it overloaded the lab's equipment in a freak accident, and he found himself surrounded by glowing energy balls. Panicked, he tried to flee the building, but instead bounced up to the top floor and onto the roof, where he witnessed 4 masked criminals attempting to break into the lab to steal Dr. Benson's research. They fired their guns at Robbie, but the bullets just bounced off of him. He defeated the criminals and went home, bewildered at his new powers. It turns out that the energy from Dr. Benson's experiment was from the kinetic dimension, and that the glowing energy balls that surrounded Robbie were pockets of kinetic energy absorbed by a force field that would surround him upon any physical contact greater than a snap of the fingers. The field would absorb the kinetic energy of any impact to his body and redirect it at a greater rate. Effectively, things could bounce off of Robbie, and he could bounce off of things. Dr. Benson called it the Speedball effect. Inexperienced with the ability, Robbie found himself unable to control his powers, and he avoided contact with most people to prevent triggering the effect.
Would you just send them flying if you touched them?
I mean, it depends on how fast they ran into him, but yeah, they would bounce off of him.
Huh.
However, he began fighting crime as a costume vigilante, his parents, of course, having opposing ideas about costume vigilantes. Between stopping criminals such as Sticker, Bonehead, and the Ghost of Springdale High, Robbie spent a lot of time trying to catch Dr. Benson's cat Niels, who was also caught in the energy experiment at the laboratory alongside him.
What?
Dr. Benson told Robbie that if he could study the cat, he could help Robbie learn how to control his kinetic field, though Robbie found it really difficult to catch a bouncing cat. He eventually did, and he learned how to use his powers better. Wanting to be a big-time superhero, Robbie tried to join the Avengers in New York, but was rejected. However, during his time in Manhattan, he happened upon a battle taking place against Terex, the former Herald of Galactus. Robbie joined the fray alongside a group of other young heroes like Night Thrasher, Firestar, Justice, Namorita, and Nova, whom you can learn more about in our Green Lantern vs. Nova Duel episode, and they all formed a new superhero team called the New Warriors. Together, they defeated numerous bad guys, including Gideon, Puppet Master, and Psionics. They rescued Robbie's mother from a fanatical ecological organization that turned out to be a cult. In doing so, Robbie revealed his secret life as a costume crime fighter to his mother, who accepted his dangerous lifestyle. Later, an evil doppelganger of Speedball created by the villain the Magus used its powers to destroy Robbie's hometown of Springdale. He killed his evil duplicate, but the battle led to his identity being revealed to his father, who had a very different reaction than his mother, and disowned his son. His parents soon got a divorce. In one adventure, Robbie and the New Warriors fought the villain Sphinx and the villain Advent, who was from the future. Sphinx declared that Robbie's siphoning of the kinetic dimension was creating chaos within time itself, and he killed Robbie.
Whoa.
Distraught, the New Warriors defeated Sphinx and traveled through the kinetic dimension into the future to defeat Advent. They learned that Robbie had actually been imprisoned in the kinetic dimension for several months, and that the Speedball that died was actually the son of Advent named Darian Grobe, who sought to undo his father's time manipulations. After stopping Advent, the New Warriors traveled back to their timeline and saved Speedball from the kinetic dimension along the way. Later, the New Warriors sought to improve their public image with the help of television. First, Robbie tried to pitch an animated series to producers, but had to back away after seeing the studio's unique take on the team. Eventually, the New Warriors got their own reality show that chronicled their adventures traveling across the country fighting crime. In the small town of Stamford, Connecticut, the team happened upon a group of villains laying low in a suburban home. With cameras rolling, they ambushed the group and discovered they had gotten in over their heads when the villain Nitro detonated himself in a massive explosion that tragically killed 612 civilians, including 60 children at a nearby elementary school. Robbie survived the blast, but was bounced over 500 miles away and fell into a coma. When he awoke, he learned that the Stamford explosion led to the introduction of the Superhero Registration Act in Congress, which would require all superpowered beings to register with S.H.I.E.L.D. and act in accordance to their directives, essentially having the US government sanction all superhero activity. It led to the superhero civil war, with nearly all of Marvel's heroes siding with either Captain America or Iron Man. Robbie also learned that all of his teammates died in the explosion, along with the television crew and the villains that were present that day, except for Nitro. Robbie was arrested and put in prison in the negative zone. The psychological trauma of the incident changed Robbie's powers so that they were no longer activated by kinetic impact, but through physical pain. He was forced to join Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts team, and he changed his codename from Speedball to Penance, fabricating an Iron Maiden-type suit with 612 small spikes on the inside, one for every victim at Stamford.
The heck?
They would poke him as he moved, causing him pain and triggering his kinetic absorption abilities. After a few concerned talks with old friends Nova and Squirrel Girl, Robbie tracked Nitro down to Liberia, where he fought and defeated the villain. Robbie removed his Penance costume and put it on Nitro and sealed it, revealing that the outfit had been designed for Nitro all along to remind him of the people he killed. His powers reverted to their original state, and he changed his codename back to Speedball.
That was weird.
What was weird?
His powers psychologically were triggered by pain.
Yeah, he was depressed, and it manifested in like this self-mutilation, masochistic disorder. Robbie joined the Avengers Academy as an instructor, though he was still mentally depressed, cutting himself in secret. On the anniversary of the Stamford incident, he took his students on a field trip to see the memorial and teach them a lesson in using their powers wisely. But while in Stamford, a villain group sought to recreate the tragic events from years prior, and Robbie quickly stopped them and defeated them alongside the residents of Stamford, who informed Robbie that they had forgiven him. On the mend, with his sense of humor finally returning, Robbie resigned from Avengers Academy and hit the road with his friend Justice to start a New Warriors team. And that's his history. Powers-wise, as mentioned before, Robbie can create a kinetic energy field around himself that redirects all force and energy exerted against him. For example, if he were to run into a wall, he would bounce off of it at a greater speed than what he ran into it. The field manifests as these glowing, multicolored spheres that surround him. He can extend this field to protect others within his proximity, and he later learned to project it offensively as explosive kinetic energy balls. Typically, though, he uses his force field to slam into his opponents and lend kinetic force to his punches and kicks. And those are his powers.
So those energy balls, they're not tangible?
They are. I mean, things bounce off of them, and he can hurl those energy balls as force balls, basically. They explode upon impact.
Interesting. Okay. He seems like a really cool character. Like
He's such a cool character.
Like a really fun character.
He gets a lot of flack. I mean, I think the best thing about Robbie, though, is his sense of humor, which we don't really touch on in the history. But it was quite the change of character to see him go from this bouncy, pun intended, humorous character to this, like very dark, brooding character.
Right.
And then go back to it. It was just a great character arc for him.
I think surprisingly, you'll find a lot of similarities between Robbie and Wally.
Of course, that's how it always goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Even how they draw their powers from other dimensions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why does this always happen? It's cool though. It's cool. All right, let me get into Wally West. So Wallace West, aka Wally, was raised in Blue Valley, Nebraska by his parents Rudolph and Mary. From a young age, Wally idolized the Flash, who you can learn more about in our Flash vs. Quicksilver episode.
You mean the Flash Barry Allen?
Yes.
Gotcha.
As the president and sole member of the Blue Valley Flash fan club, Wally was ecstatic when he got the chance to travel to Central City at age 10 to spend the summer with his aunt Iris West. Central City was protected by the Flash, whom his aunt's boyfriend, Barry Allen, claimed to be friends with.
Oh.
Barry was a forensic scientist and introduced Wally to the Flash in his crime lab, where the overwhelmed Wally asked his hero question after question, including how he got his powers. The Flash showed Wally his chemical cabinet, which he set up to be identical to the night that lightning struck the lab and he was doused in energized chemicals. In that moment, surprisingly, lightning struck the same place twice, and Wally was caught in the same accident that gave Barry his powers. The Flash told Wally to keep his accident a secret, and he gave Wally a tailored Flash costume. Thus, Wally became the Flash's sidekick, Kid Flash. Barry Allen eventually revealed to Wally his secret identity as the Flash, and updated Wally's costume from being a duplicate of his to one predominantly yellow, Kid Flash's iconic costume. Over time, Kid Flash became a founding member of the Teen Titans, along with fellow sidekicks Robin and Aqualad. Their team eventually expanded, though after many adventures, Wally began feeling intense pain when using his speed, something that briefly affected him during adolescence, and he quit his superhero career to attend Taggart University. He was brought out of early retirement, however, during the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, where a blast from the universe-destroying Anti-Monitor dropped his top speed to that of sound, but also took away his pain when using his powers. His mentor, Barry Allen, sacrificed himself to stop the destruction of the universe, and to honor his legacy, Wally took up Barry's costume and mantle until he believed Barry would return to reclaim it. Eventually, Wally psychologically came to grips with the possibility that Barry wasn't returning, the stress of which sometimes caused him to drop in speed even further. Despite winning $6.5 million in the lottery, his depression made it so that he could only muster a fraction of Barry's speed. After losing both his fortune in the stock market and his powers completely during the Invasion storyline, his friends attempted to imbue him with his powers once again by spraying him with forensic chemicals and electrocuting him, which sent Wally's consciousness to another dimension and turned his body into a quill-covered speed monster.
What?
During that incident, he first met his future wife, a news reporter named Linda Park. After Wally's mind and body were restored, he moved to Keystone City, where Linda lived, and became a mechanic for the Keystone City Police Department. Once Wally got settled, his mentor Barry Allen seemingly returned from the dead, though it was later revealed to be Eobard Thawne, aka Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash, who was impersonating Barry. With the help of several other speedsters, Wally was able to override the mental blocks he had developed in fear of replacing Barry Allen as the Flash, and regained his full power and speed, allowing him to defeat Professor Zoom. Wally had discovered the Speed Force, a dimension of energy that he and other speedsters had been tapping into in order to defy the laws of physics. Over time, Wally learned to access the Speed Force and manipulate its energy to achieve abilities that no speedsters before him had ever had, including sharing or draining speed from other objects or people. Not long after Wally became a core member of the Justice League of America, the villain Savitar also learned to siphon energy from the Speed Force, and Wally was forced to move fast enough to convert Savitar into Speed Force energy and phase him out of existence. Though he was successful, Wally almost merged with the Speed Force as well, and when he pulled back, he was transported into the far future and he went on several future adventures as his body slowly returned to the normal vibrational frequency of his present time. Wally and Linda later married, and after the Flash's rogues teamed up to prove again and again how difficult they could make Wally's life, Wally encountered his greatest threat in Hunter Zolomon, a police detective who became the villain Zoom after Gorilla Grodd paralyzed him and the Flash refused to go back in time to stop that incident from happening. Feeling that the Flash lacked empathy, Zolomon attempted to travel back in time himself using Barry Allen's time-traveling cosmic treadmill, only for it to explode on him and allow him to shift through moments in time.
Barry Allen has a time machine that's a treadmill?
Yes, yep.
Interesting.
Since Wally lucked into his powers as a child, Zolomon took it upon himself to make Wally a better, more empathetic hero by killing the Flash's pregnant wife, Linda.
Jeez.
Wally was forced to borrow the Speed Force from every speedster around, including a time-traveling Barry Allen from the past, in order to reach the time-shifting Zoom. Wally saved Linda, but the ordeal caused her to miscarry her twin babies. With the help of Hal Jordan as the Spectre, Wally West's identity as the Flash, which had been publicly known since Wally took up his mentor's mantle, was erased from public memory. A subsequent fight between the Flash and Zoom restored Linda's pregnancy and she gave birth to twin children. During the Infinite Crisis storyline, Wally and the rest of the speedsters joined forces to merge the villain Superboy Prime, who you can learn more about in our Superboy vs. Rogue episode, into the Speed Force. Linda and their speedster children joined Wally and the others as they all merged with the Speed Force. Wally and his family lived happily in an alternate reality, imparting their Speed Force energy into Bart Allen, Barry Allen's future grandson and Wally's sidekick, so that he alone could return to the world and carry on the mantle of the Flash. Wally later returned after the Legion of Superheroes, a team from the future, generated a Speed Force lightning bolt to capture Bart just as he died to return him to his future timeline. Wally and his family returned to the world on that same lightning bolt. After Barry Allen returned during the Final Crisis event, he refused to let Wally give up the Flash mantle, acknowledging that he had earned it. When Barry seemingly created the post-Flashpoint New 52 reality that reset DC Comics continuity, Wally West as we knew him was not a part of that reality. His consciousness resided in the Speed Force, outside of reality, and it was he alone that remembered the old continuity and realized that the new reality wasn't Barry's doing, but Dr. Manhattan's of the Watchmen universe.
What? Oh, these are like new revelations, huh?
Yeah, this is Rebirth. Barry was able to rescue Wally from the Speed Force and pull him into the new reality, and thanks to his prolonged connection to the Speed Force, Wally emerged even faster than before, though he began suffering from temporal seizures due to the stress of not having his children and the knowledge that he wasn't supposed to be a part of this reality.
How do you get faster than how fast he already was, which was like light speed?
You just do. Don't question it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's the Speed Force.
That's your answer for everything. I got to answer every question I had for Barry Allen's bio.
And that's his story so far, essentially.
Gotcha.
Powers-wise, Wally West is the de facto fastest man alive, the only speedster who has been able to mainline directly into the Speed Force. He can move, react, and think at speeds faster than light. He can impart speed into other people or objects, including his body, allowing it to heal faster. He can also absorb kinetic energy, sapping other people or objects of their speed. He can vibrate his molecules fast enough to travel through matter or become nearly invisible, and he can travel fast enough to enter the Speed Force and travel through time. That's Wally West.
I thought if his speedster moves faster than the speed of light, he merges with the Speed Force.
Light speed isn't necessarily that limit. He can go a little bit faster than the speed of light. Beyond the speed of light is the limit at which you merge with the Speed Force.
Do you feel like he's a little bit overpowered?
He is the most overpowered character probably in DC Comics.
It's like DC takes this concept of running fast.
Yes.
You know, and all of a sudden they have him run so fast that it can't be explained by physics. So they have to introduce the concept of the Speed Force. And then they have the concept of the Speed Force, and then you have writers who don't know how to use it realistically. Realistically is not the right word, but within a certain amount of parameters to avoid situations like this where you have a character who is essentially limitless in everything that he can do, but obviously month to month keeps himself within certain limitations so that he's not just, protecting the entire world the entire time, killing all of his villains before they can even have a chance to think that they want to hurt him.
Yeah, that's more like Kingdom Come Flash. Wally doesn't move the speed of light all the time.
But he could, if he wanted to.
Yes. Although Wally doesn't even have the most ridiculous feat. That belongs to Barry Allen, who says that he can move faster than an attosecond.
Uh-huh. But you said that Wally West can move so fast he can travel through time, essentially whenever he wants to.
Yes, he's the only speedster who can really do that. Barry Allen needs his cosmic treadmill.
It's so dumb. I'm just going to say, DC's stupid. Like, what the fuck? Like, keep your shit in control. DC has so many examples of characters like this. You take Superman, you take Martian Manhunter, all these characters where they just keep extrapolating. Like, oh, he can shapeshift? Oh, that means he has complete control over every single DNA strand that he has, and he can develop any superpower that he wants.
Oh, Martian Manhunter?
How do you get that from that? It's so dumb. I mean, and there's a little bit of that when it comes to Marvel in the case of Silver Surfer, sometimes Hulk, Iron Man occasionally. It's kind of weird how characters evolve through the years. I think DC is guilty of evolving them too much, too quickly.
DC characters are more like the Greek gods. They're mythological. They're these archetypes, right?
Right.
They're less characters than ideas, and therefore they're not as well defined as the Marvel characters.
Which is why they're not as good.
They're better. They're better than good.
Oh my God.
They're perfect.
Oh my God. All right, so now that we've gone over the histories and abilities and bitched about, DC's overpowering of their characters, we like to go into the improvised scenario that we create, where we talk about how one of these 1,000 simulated battles that we run will play out. We don't have any rules for this matchup, save for the fact that the environment has no bearing on the match itself because we don't take stats for the environment, and certain characters have advantages in some locations over others. And each character has to win on their own merit, basically. No outside help. They don't know anything about each other than that the opponent is someone that needs to be put down and is a threat. And they start off about 50 meters apart on the battlefield. So with all that said, who goes first?
I'll tell you who goes first. The faster one, the Flash.
Okay, sure, obviously.
So right out the gate, Flash at light speed just slams his fist right into Speedball's face.
Yeah, that seems like something he would do, right?
Considering he knows nothing about Speedball.
And that fist just bounces right off, and Wally goes flying backwards a little bit faster than the speed that he collided with Speedball.
So faster than the speed of light? He may have gone fast enough to merge with the Speed Force, meaning he went back in time, started this match over from the beginning.
Oh my God.
And then realized, hey, I shouldn't start the battle off that way.
So when the Flash merged with the Speed Force and went back in time, what happened to that timeline's version of the Flash?
It doesn't exist anymore. You don't need to worry about it.
What?
He's rewriting history.
No, that's not how it works. No time travel in this shit.
Yes.
Unless he can rewind time, which he can't do.
No, you can't rewind time. No.
So all Robbie saw was basically maybe just like the quickest flash of something hitting him and then just blinking out of existence.
Basically.
And then he was like, I guess I win.
No, we're on to a new separate timeline now.
No, we stick with one timeline in these duels.
Okay, then the Flash makes his way back to that timeline. Now he's like, okay, now I know what not to do.
Uh-huh.
So instead, he runs up to Speedball and runs around him in circles, creating a vacuum, pulling the air away from Speedball.
Speedball doesn't need air when he's surrounded in his kinetic force field. So he sees this whirlwind being circling around him, and so he decides just to run in any direction, and he runs and he plows into the Flash and he bounces off of him, and he starts bouncing and building up momentum within this vortex that the Flash is creating.
And that does what?
And it builds up enough kinetic energy within Speedball that he unleashes it, and it explodes the Flash away from him, and he's like super hurt.
Super hurt.
Yeah, and maybe Wally has a few ribs broken and shit.
Okay, well then Wally channels the Speed Force into his ribs so that they heal faster.
What can't he do? I hate him. Well, while Wally is healing, Speedball bounces towards him Actually, he takes a few bounces so that he builds up enough momentum, and he bounces towards him, and he just plows right into Wally mid-heel and breaks another few ribs.
Okay, but Wally can perceive time at a faster rate, so he sees Speedball moving towards him like almost in slow motion, and right when he's about to hit Wally, that's when Wally vibrates his molecules and Speedball just bounces right through him.
And bounces like far away.
Yes. Okay, so the Flash chases after him as Speedball is about to land again. That's when he grabs his legs and just slams him into the ground.
Oh, guess what? As the Flash reaches up to grab Speedball's legs, his hands just bounce off of Robbie's ankles.
He's not punching him.
It doesn't matter. It's physical contact.
No, he's just like moving him closer to the ground faster.
You can't make physical contact with Robbie without being redirected.
That's dumb. So how's the Flash gonna injure him in any way?
Exactly. Speedball really can't be injured with his force field.
You say the Flash is a piece of shit. Look at Speedball. He can't even be hurt.
Yeah, but Speedball's not some kind of like time speed god. Although he was stated to be an embodiment of time and space by one of his New Warriors colleagues due to his connection with the kinetic dimension.
What?
Yeah, it's weird.
Interesting.
It was mentioned once. I don't really buy it.
Okay, so the Flash, when he moves, he leaves a trail of electric energy. So once the Flash realizes that he essentially can't touch Speedball, that's when he runs around him really fast again, but not long enough for Speedball to react. He leaves the electricity in his wake and he electrocutes Speedball.
Except the lightning bolt bounces off of Speedball.
Bullshit! What are you talking about? It's energy, it's not physical.
Well, I mean, fire has bounced off of Speedball before.
What?
Yeah, it's hit or miss. Sometimes energy affects him, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, maybe a few lightning bolts bounce off, but the Flash is creating enough energy here that it's just gonna overload whatever kind of kinetic field that Speedball has.
Well, I'm not gonna argue against that. I mean, something like that has happened before, So eventually you're saying that Speedball gets electrocuted just by being overloaded with so much energy that his field can only repel so much.
Sure.
That's weird. But I'll accept it. So Speedball's getting electrocuted, right?
Yes.
One thing that I didn't tell you is that Speedball has also retained his penance powers, meaning that as he gets injured, as he feels physical pain, he also stores up kinetic energy from that.
What?
Yeah. So he's getting electrocuted, he's feeling pain, his penance powers start building up, and he shoots out this massive kinetic blast that's like a giant Ryu Hadouken, and it just like hits the Flash and totally like atomizes him.
It's like a force blast?
Yeah.
Okay, this force blast, I'm assuming he's just shooting it in like one direction. It's not like omnidirectional, right?
Correct.
Okay, well then the Flash just runs behind Speedball.
Oh my god.
And dodges
You're
the blast
stupid.
completely.
All right, so Speedball sees that he missed, and he turns around, he sees the Flash, and he still has all this kinetic energy built up within him, even though he's still recovering from being electrocuted. He just throws these kinetic energy balls.
Okay.
He starts hurling them in all directions, basically, and they explode upon impact.
Okay, well, cue the bullet time, because Speedball thinks he's hurtling these things at fast speed, but to the Flash, they're moving in slow motion, and so he's just like expertly like ducking and weaving through this maze of kinetic ball energy.
Ugh.
Inching closer and closer by the nanosecond towards Speedball.
Okay?
At which point, he vibrates his hand and plunges it into Speedball, which it's not a physical touch, it's not anything, so he can't react to it. And then he solidifies his hand.
No. I would think that if he's vibrating through Speedball's kinetic field, his hand would vibrate like even faster as it made contact with it due to the repelling force. And it would vibrate so fast that his hand would just vibrate the fuck off.
No! That's not cool.
He just lost his hand.
No healing from that. Can't grow back a new hand.
I have no basis for that. I just thought that was a cool idea.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think that works. The Flash runs off, and he's like really hurt right now. So he starts vibrating fast enough so that he becomes like invisible, essentially, as he's like trying to speed up the healing of his now stump arm. That's horrible.
All right, so Robbie's like looking for him, and he can't see him, so he probably thinks he won. He probably thinks like he blasted him away with his kinetic energy balls. Probably is not even aware what happened when the Flash tried to phase into him.
Okay, so when Speedball isn't looking, when he's looking in the wrong direction, the Flash speeds up to him and punches him like really hard in the back of the neck. like to paralyze him.
Okay,
But of course,
and his fist bounces off.
Okay, but as his fist is bouncing off, the Flash drains his own speed, his own kinetic energy. Okay, so that he stops and then just plows right into Speedball again, and then just keeps doing this until he's applying some kind of pressure to Speedball, and this all happens really fast.
Okay, so instead of bouncing off of Robbie, he's forcing Robbie to bounce off of him through his ability to control his own kinetic momentum.
Yes.
Essentially, he's just, I guess, pushing Robbie in a direction.
With his fist, yes.
Yeah.
Right into the ground, and he's just gonna like hold him there against the ground.
And make him like bounce infinitely between his fist and the ground.
Exactly.
At which point he explodes with kinetic energy again.
But the Flash knows that trick. He saps all of that kinetic energy.
Okay, he might be able to do that, but essentially the Flash is still not hurting Speedball. He's just creating an infinite loop where Speedball bounces infinitely and doesn't make the Flash bounce away.
Right. That's fine. I could wait this out. I could travel through time.
What happened in the Stanford incident is that eventually Speedball's kinetic field kind of overloaded and dissipated. He bounced like 500 miles away, and in the process, he drained his powers. So I guess maybe if you give it long enough time, I could see that happening in this case. But I still think that Speedball would eventually build up so much kinetic momentum that the Flash would not be able to absorb it.
Agree to disagree.
Well, I'll leave the match there.
Sure.
It's such a weird scenario. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run the stats on these characters and place them in the simulator and come back to you guys with the winner. All right, we input all the stats, and judging off your reaction to the results, I'm really horrified and or intrigued by what's going to end up happening here.
Yeah, so I have the results here. Let's get into the stats, though. How did they compare?
Well, Flash is obviously faster than Speedball. Speedball can accelerate up to a very high speed, but Flash is he's incomparable. Light speed, there's no comparison.
When it comes to strength and fighting skill and damage level even, they were pretty tit for tat.
Yeah, I mean, they both can lend kinetic energy to their attacks to make them a little bit, beefier. They both have similar fight training. Speedball was trained by Night Thrasher of the New Warriors after initially getting rejected from the Avengers for not having any fight training.
I said they're comparable on damage, but we did give a slight edge to Speedball.
Right.
Just because of how explosive he is with
right.
his kinetic energy.
And Speedball has a greater range than the Flash, being able to project his kinetic field outward over a wider area simultaneously than what the Flash could likely do.
The Flash really has no range, and you really don't need it when you're as fast as he is. He can occasionally toss lightning bolts, but it's actually really rare for him to do that. So we said he has a very limited range. When it comes to durability, the Flash we gave the edge to because of his regenerative healing ability. Evasiveness-wise,
these guys are able to avoid being hurt greater than probably any two superheroes out there.
Yeah, they're basically maxed out on their evasiveness stat.
It's really hard to hit them and hurt them. And intelligence-wise, yeah, Wally's smarter than Speedball.
They're both kind of jokester characters.
Right.
But Wally West has just been in the game for so long, and he's just experienced so much life.
And he has an actual career than, other than costume adventurer.
Right.
Speedball's pretty average.
So looking at the stats, who do you think came out on top?
They seem pretty even, so I'm going to just go with who I want to win. I think Speedball's going to win this.
So I thought the Flash was going to win in a landslide, but it looks like the two characters are much more comparable than I thought. The winner of this match is Speedball.
What? Yes! Yes!
But barely.
Really?
Barely. Speedball, out of 1,000 matches, won 517 as compared to the Flash's 483.
Well, that's within our margin of error, so this is technically a coin toss match. Our margin of error being 2.5%, so about 25 wins. So if you're within 525...
It's a coin toss.
It's a 50-50 split almost.
These 50-50 splits always go in your way.
Yeah, they do.
And I still don't understand how this was a 50-50 split. I mean, Wally West is a freaking god. Speedball? Who the fuck is Speedball?
Oh, you'll know who Speedball is now. Essentially, it just boils down to the fact that these two characters can't really be hit. And if one of them can be hit, I would say that Wally's more likely to be hit, even though he has the speed of light, just because he doesn't have a force field around him that reflects everything that comes into contact with him.
This is bullshit.
No, it's not,
This is like one of the most upset I've ever been at results, because there's no way No way Wally West should have lost this.
I think the biggest disparity in their stats was the range factor.
That is what killed Wally. That was it.
So
DC needs to give Wally, shooting lightning out of his eyes superpower. Why not?
Theoretically, the way the Speedball is able to win a slight majority of these battles is by keeping the Flash at a distance, it seems. Theoretically, that also seems really hard to do, given the nature of the Flash's powers and how he's able to dodge projectiles. But eventually, I guess, if Speedball absorbs enough kinetic energy, he can throw out so much that it makes it just too hard for the Flash to dodge.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I love this.
I feel like we're going to get a lot of flack from the Wally West supporters out there, because there's a lot of them.
Well, Barry Allen beat Quicksilver, so they can get over it.
I'm heartbroken.
I mean, technically, this is a coin toss, right?
Yeah.
If you ran the simulations again, it's likely that Wally West would come out on top.
Not by much.
Yeah, that being said, we never rerun the results. The results we get the first time is always what we go with.
And they always go in your favor.
Thank God.
Like, fucking always.
Thank God. That does it for this episode. Write in angry letters to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Really, Facebook is for fan interaction. Instagram is for the cool graphics that we create, and Twitter's for news.
Yeah, that's sort of what it seems to be. You can, of course, find a link to all of our social media accounts on our website, dynamicduel.com, where you'll find a link to our merchandise store, which is on TeePublic. For this episode, I will be putting up a image of Speedball with his thumb up his ass.
What the fuck?
Because I'm so bitter. No, it'll be a cool Speedball shirt. It'll be fun to draw.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Yeah, I'd buy that. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. Again, we'll be reviewing Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox in our next episode, continuing along these Titans and X-Men themed shows leading up to the big episode 150.
Please don't forget to rate, review, share, and subscribe our show with your friends and family, especially on social media, especially for Apple Podcasts. If you have already given us a rating on Apple Podcasts and you know someone else who hasn't, please make sure to let them know that they totally should.
That goes for you, James and Mary. It's your turn. You got to do it. We called you out. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Up, and away.
True believers.